Have you ever encountered something larger than mere coincidence? Something that seems to hold a deeper and more significant meaning? Let me tell you about what I believe is part of a larger pattern that connects us all. Let's talk about synchronicities, how they occur, and what they mean. Synchronicity is a peculiar coincidence that you may have noticed. Carl Jung referred to them as significant coincidences. Two or more events that are not physically related, but are connected in some mystical and metaphysical way. I prefer to think of them in a broader sense as meaningful coincidences. They are not just random coincidences or products of a biased viewpoint, but genuine anomalies in experience that catch our attention. Synchronicity, synchrony, synchronistic. I will use these terms interchangeably to vary my language, but know that they mean the same thing in this video. Synchronicities are truly important. They serve as proof that reality is sometimes malleable, sometimes unstable, and sometimes responsive to consciousness. Einstein was right when he said that reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. Synchronicities demonstrate that this world is more akin to a collective dream or a simulation of the Matrix than an independent physical construct. The idea that physical reality is a standalone entity is based on outdated 19th century science. For over a century, quantum physics has been proving that physical events are ultimately determined by metaphysical factors, meaning that reality is shaped by consciousness. Synchronicities are one manifestation of this fact. So, why does synchronization happen, and what do they signify? It actually depends on the type of synchronicity. There are several kinds. Let's examine some of them. The first are precursor synchronicities. They manifest a few hours or days before a troubling event in your life, almost like the rumblings of thunder heralding an approaching storm. This occurs because the preceding event is a dirty, energetic blot on your timeline, and your corner of reality becomes unstable in anticipation of it. Precursor synchronicities also occur when your future is in constant flux. For example, when you make a significant life decision that heavily impacts your future. When the future is uncertain and fluctuating, it becomes unstable, and therefore the present also becomes unstable due to proximity, as time is one large continuum. Unstable conditions mean that there are improbabilities. Why? According to quantum physics, what we call normal reality is simply the most predictable, stable, and probable path that anyone can take, that's all. So when reality becomes unstable, it means it becomes less normal, i.e. stranger. It becomes less predictable, meaning more astonishing. And it becomes less probable, meaning more synchronous. In summary, precursor synchronicities are a side effect of impending instability. This, in turn, tends to represent a troubling or unreliable situation when the outcome is in flux. Then deviations occur when you suddenly deviate from your most likely course of action. This means doing something truly unusual, something you wouldn't have done in most probable futures. For example, it could be something that contradicts your programmed impulses, circumstances, habits, feelings at the moment. All these things push you toward a more mechanical and likely outcome. And suddenly we choose to have cappuccino instead of Americano, or watch a romantic comedy instead of an action movie, or call our parents instead of watching a football match with friends. Thus, our future shifts away from the probable outcome and into a realm of broader possibility. Next, when you do something unlikely for an extended period, you increasingly deviate into a less probable future. And this generates other improbabilities that we perceive as deviations. While precursor synchronicities occur before the unstable region of your timeline, deviations usually happen during or after that region. One key to understanding synchronicity is that probabilities tend to cluster together. One improbability breeds another. And if you do something improbable, there's a good chance you'll attract yet another improbability. I hope you're not confused yet. That's because you're deviating from the probable timeline right now. This brings up an important point. There is something beyond this reality, something beyond linear time. If events are to deviate from the default outcome without that metaphysical factor, everything would be mechanically predetermined. Everything would simply be material cause and effect, dominoes knocking each other down from beginning to end of time, with no surprises. For the dominoes to change direction and start a new chain, one of them must be turned to stand in a new line. This happens every time we assert our will. Consciousness is not a physical factor creating improbabilities. In quantum physics, this is referred to as an interface observer, creating indeterminism or mosaic fragmentary behavior. Ultimately, this means that the more intelligent a person is and the greater their freedom of action, the more improbabilities they bring into this world. And since improbabilities breed even more improbabilities, the life of such walking anomalies becomes However, truthfully, it's not only our consciousness that can create improbabilities and thus synchronicities. This can be done by everything that exists beyond linear time and the course of events. You are likely doing something right now that was not supposed to happen, which means you are on an incredible path. Soon you will encounter synchronicities similar to the deviations of synchronicity. So, if you possess a high degree of free will and are influenced by entities outside of time, you become a true anomaly in this world. This happens with an increasing number of anomalies in your life. All right, let's return to synchrony and talk about expansion synchronicities. They occur when we go through a significant moment of spiritual growth or transformation. This includes a period of insight and deviation regarding higher truths about existence or about ourselves. A sudden change in your being acts like a bubble that suddenly expands, sending ripples in all directions. It's not just an incredible event when you transition to a new set of future changes in your personal characteristics, but your being also expands and disturbs the matter of existence. These things can trigger synchronicity and expansion. The expansion synchronicity, there is a synchronicity of messages, symbolic messages we receive in the form of signs and omens. They are like dream symbols, except they occur while we are awake. This could be a recurring number you keep seeing, or a particular animal or insect, or anything that truly functions as a sign conveying a meaningful message. Message synchronicity can be reassuring in terms of confirming a decision you've just made or indicating that everything is fine and you are moving in the right direction. Alternatively, they can be omens, suggesting that something bad will happen, or that there is a harmful person or influence in your life, or that you are entering a dangerous path. The messages contain symbols that can be deciphered. To do this, you need to note the time and circumstances of their appearance. Recurring messages serve as indicators of events. Synchronicity shows the connection between reality and consciousness. In dreams, we interact with the subconscious, and in waking life, we engage with the collective consciousness. Einstein considered reality to be an illusion, but one that is sustained by the collective unconscious. The personal unconscious influences reality. Does that sound incredible? It turns out that this aligns well with the laws of quantum physics, which experimentally demonstrated that choices made in the present can influence the past. It seems we can peek not only into the future but also into the past. Event synchronicity does not violate the laws of physics. It is a direct consequence of quantum principles. Sometimes, synchronicities happen at the will of much more highly developed beings. It is a fortunate coincidence at the right time that helps advance your fate, your story, extricating you from a difficult situation, or opening new paths in your life. Coincidences may seem incredible, but they seem to happen seamlessly and gracefully. Thus, they manifest intuitive insight. A coincidence of opportunities is a timely moment that serves as a fun plot device to advance the story of your life. The distinctive feature of a coincidence of opportunities is that it brings you a sense of relief and joy when you encounter it, and intuitively you feel a lack of resistance and even enthusiasm about it. It's as if you were trying to insert a USB cable and it fits immediately without any problems. The universe is harmonious. In one cable there is coherence, harmony from top to bottom. When you encounter a coincidence, ask yourself these questions. Could this be a forewarning of what will happen soon? Did I just do something incredible that could have caused this? Is this a message, a sign, a symbol? If so, what does it mean? What does it signify when you don't experience any coincidences for a while? You may notice that during such times you are moving through life in a steady, predictable, and unremarkable way. Alternatively, you might be so in tune with your higher self and the unconscious that they wouldn't need to edit reality to send you a message because they already have a direct connection. The most reliable way to eliminate coincidences is to immerse yourself in three-dimensional material mundanity, making no noise, just blending in and maintaining a routine, which probably characterizes most people today. You may be wondering what can be done to invoke more coincidences in your life. Well, there are a few tips, and I'll share them with you now. The first thing to do is to think about them more often, integrate them into your worldview as natural and expected, and approach them with childlike wonder at reality. This neutralizes the effects of skepticism and groundedness that could keep them at bay. The second thing you can do is grow and transform through the power of insight, revelation, and discovery. To do this, you need to spend more time in self-reflection, curiosity, independence, open-mindedness, and the ability to learn. This is the complete opposite of the active lifestyle encouraged by modern society. And the third thing you can do is to determine what impulses, drives, feelings, and thoughts arise from your social and biological programming versus those arising from your spiritual core and spiritual intelligence. The spiritual principle, which is the focus of your sensuality and free will, is not a product of matter, energy, space, and time. It exists beyond linear time and is capable of ignoring causality and probability. The more you are guided by your spiritual mind and intuition, the more likely the path you are on becomes. This increases the odds of encounters along that path. All of this can be summed up as follows. Many people have observed synchronicities and recorded them. This has been happening for centuries. Synchronicities are reminders that reality is not what we are led to believe. Over time, more and more people will become aware of this. It will take the Steins hundreds more years to measure, calculate, and explain everything to us. But we don't need to wait for science to explain everything. You can already explore your synchronicities and use them to enhance your life.